Here's what's coming up on today's show.
So we'll build a portfolio that, it can still fluctuate like you mentioned, but it's going to be more consistent because that money will probably be drawn upon sooner than your retirement accounts might be.
Hello, this is Mark Silverman, managing member and founder of Silverman & Associates, and I'm also a certified financial planner professional. I want to welcome you to the Saving with Silverman podcast. I'm glad you're here. Each week, we'll discuss different financial planning topics because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
Let's talk about cash. A lot of people out there think cash is king. Nothing like cash, and they want to keep as much money in cash as they can, and all this kind of thing. But almost everybody likes the idea of a healthy bank account. And my question to you is, what are some of the most common needs for cash that you see that make it a good idea to have a sufficient amount on hand?
Well, it's emergency funds. And, as I've said many times, and you probably already know this, Ron, but, it depends on what your budget is, what you're spending.
Yeah.
So let's say you're spending $5,000 a month. The rule tells you should have 3 to 6 months of expenses should be liquid. So 15 to 30,000 should be liquid in an account that you can get to without fees or taxes or penalties. 3 months, I think, is kind of the minimum. That's kind of where we shoot for. Sometimes if somebody's retired, we'll shoot for 6 months. In some extreme cases, we'll even go 12 months with people. So it's just, that being said, we come up with a number when we do plans for our clients and give them an idea what that is. So, let's say somebody, what do they need the money for? A big thing here in Arizona is air conditioning is going out in the summertime.
Yeah.
Let's say your air conditioning goes out and you have, let's say 30,000 is what we tell you need to have saved in your checking savings, wherever you might hold it. And now you need to pull 10 out to buy a new air conditioning unit. So now you have 20. You let us know. We'll have to move 10 over from the investment account over to your emergency savings account, if you will, to keep it at that $30,000 amount.
Yeah, and you can't get by without air conditioning these days.
No,
sure.
Not in Arizona.
No way.
No.
People often ask how much is appropriate to have in cash, and we've talked about this on this show before. How do you normally answer that question?
It depends on the situation, whether somebody's working, whether they're retired, what other sources of income they have coming in. Some people still have pensions. We don't see as many as we used to. Some people are taking Social Security. So it just depends on what you have coming in. We'll come up with a number based on your specific situation. But as I said earlier, as a general rule, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses should be kept liquid, 3 at a minimum.
Why is it that sometimes people end up with more money sitting in cash than they really should? Is it an emotional thing or what?
I think so. I think people just kind of build up and don't realize it. They have it sitting in an account and don't even realizing they're earning pennies on that money.
Yeah.
I think there's some comfort in that, but there's also, the part about where inflation's creeping up and purchasing power is being eroded because you have too much in cash. So you got to have a certain amount of cash should be liquid, like we've mentioned, but keeping the right amount. Any more than that should be put into investments that have a chance to keep pace with inflation.
Mark, let me ask you one more question here about cash. For a client who's gotten used to having a large amount in the bank, what's a way that they can invest more efficiently without suddenly giving themselves a heart attack because they're watching the money go up and down every day in the market?
Well, you've got to have the right strategy and the right mix of investments. I can't give you specifics without knowing your situation. But I'll give you some general things. Typically when we assess somebody's risk, we'll look at their overall risk and what their comfort level is and what that level is in comparison to keeping on track with their goals. And so what we'll do is when we build a portfolio, we tend, and this is kind of general practice, we'll take more risk with their deferred investments. IRAs, Roths will take a little bit more risk. With the more liquid brokerage, savings, checking, those, types of investments that's after tax, we tend to take a little bit, we'll step the risk down a notch or two. So we'll build a portfolio that, it can still fluctuate like you mentioned, but it's going to be more consistent because that money will probably be drawn upon sooner than your retirement accounts might be.
Yeah, and if you're sitting and watching these things every day, things do tend to go up and down. I mean, they're always going to fluctuate to a certain degree.
Correct.
It can drive you absolutely crazy if you're doing that, and some folks just aren't suited for that.
Well, that's why they hire us. because they know we have an eye on it. So they can still watch their accounts and go look at it as many times as they want in a given day. Some don't want to look at it at all. That's their prerogative. But that's why a lot of people hire us, is so that we can manage it and rebalance and do all those things that we're supposed to be doing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So they know they're in good shape.
Well, we spent a lot of time talking about cash here today, and look at your own situation. If you're thinking about how much cash you have at the bank, or cash that is easily accessible, maybe there's too much of it. Maybe there's not enough to cover emergency situations. But have a conversation with Mark Silverman about all of this in regards to your particular scenario. And if you'd like to have a conversation with him, it's absolutely free and no obligation. And Mark, I know that you've gotten a lot of clients who have turned into long-term clients. You've been seeing them for a very long time out of that initial phone call. Some folks call, you never hear from them again, but that's the way it goes. I mean, it's just something, a service that you offer to folks, and, they're under no obligation.
You're absolutely correct. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's just to have a conversation with me. Maybe it'll lead to something, maybe it won't. But as I tell people, at least if we have a conversation, maybe we're not a good fit, or maybe I can point you in the right direction and give you the information that you're looking for. And so that's what's important, is just reaching out, invest a few minutes of your time. I'm investing a few minutes of my time to see if there's a fit, answer any questions, and go from there.
You've been listening to the Saving with Silverman podcast. If you have any questions at all about your financial situation, please give Mark Silverman a call. Again, his number is 520-333-7601, or go online to savingwithsilverman.com. For Mark Silverman, I'm Ron Stutz. We'll see you next time on the Saving with Silverman podcast.
The Saving with Silverman podcast is brought to you by Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, based in Tucson, Arizona. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show on your favorite app today and never miss an episode. Just search for Saving with Silverman to find us, or visit savingwithsilverman.com to listen to past episodes, to contact Mark, and to learn more about how to make smarter decisions with your money.
Did you know that Mark Silverman also has a radio show? Tune in to Saving with Silverman Saturdays and Sundays at 3 p.m. on AM 790 KNST.
All matters discussed on this show are for informational purposes only. Opinions expressed are solely those of Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, and staff. All topics covered are believed to be from reliable sources. However, Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC makes no representation as to its accuracy or completeness. This show shall in no way be construed as a solicitation to sell securities or investment advisory services to residents of any state other than Arizona or where otherwise permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Fee-based financial planning and investment advisory services offered through Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Arizona. Insurance products and services are offered through Silverman & Associates, an affiliated company.